Welcome to episode 30 of the Arctic Crafts podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Chevyrell, northern Norway, where I live with my husband and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook and Etsy as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Craft 65. Today's episode will be a little bit rambly, I guess, because I'm doing this without show notes. I started my day with a meeting and I wanted to take advantage of the daylight, so no show notes. I'll just take it as I remember it. And the first thing I'll remind you of is the knit-alongs I'm running. One is the year-long knit-along, where you can enter projects you knit with Arctic Crafts yarn. And we have the 80s Kids Make-Along that I'm running with Chevyrell from Chevyrell Stuff and Beth from Shadows and Purls. And you can find both those knit-alongs in my Ravelry group. You find that by searching for Arctic Crafts in the Groups tab, and I'll link it below as well. I've actually been out of the house today for the first time in almost a week. I had a meeting with my accountant and social distancing and everything, so it worked. So we did some grocery shopping at the same time, so we don't have to go out of the house again until Monday, I guess. And this is a knitting podcast, so let's get on with the knitting. We can talk about what I'm wearing first. This is my ranunculus, the 3rd ranunculus I've knit. This is the newest one. It's knit with the hinterland base from Life in the Long Grass, and the colorway is River Rock. It's a bit chilly here today, so I could actually wear some knitting. And I love the color of this jumper. It's a bit more blue-green than it shows up on camera, but I really like it. It's a bit scratchy, but I can tolerate it. And when it comes to finished objects, I actually have 2. I have one finished shawl that is knit with my yarn, and it's the Solaris shawl, and it's a big shawl, and the colors I used is my Arctic Sunset mini skein set, and the grey is slate, and the grey is soft merino fine, and the mini skein set is on platinum sock, and I have one of these left in the shop. I also have an Arctic Sunset skein set that is 50 gram skeins. And the other finished object I have is this. It's the Shift by Andrea Mowry. And as you see, this isn't as colorful as many of the others. I've used Schoppel's Crazy Sauber Ball for the contrast color, and for the main color I used my own It's a one-of-a-kind Chaotic Evil on Poledale Sport, and I had to break into an extra skein to finish this, but I have about 80 grams left, and I'm going to gift the leftovers from that skein. And that's my finished objects. The shawl, I really love the shawl, so I guess I'm going to use that, even though it's a sample, because I always loved the grey with brighter colors. I think that's a really beautiful combination. And now for the hose. I actually have 3 of those. This is the first sock of a pair. It's the Rainbow Connection socks by the Crazy Sock Lady. And this is a really fun pattern. And I'm so happy when people make patterns that go with self-striping yarn, because I'm hoarding self-striping. I have a lot of self-striping. The heel, toe and cuff is Fabel from Drops Yarns, and the self-striping is from Nicole C. Mendes. And this is a really fun pattern. Highly recommend this pattern. It was so much fun to knit. And it's so easy to count the rows because every stripe is 2 rows. So I needed 32 stripes. That's 64 rows. The Crazy Sock Lady is running a knit along for that pattern in her group. This is for a knit along. 12 As you can tell, this is not blocked yet because I have yet to knit the second sock. The pattern is Sirius, and I'm blanking on Ninja Chickens. And I love these, and as you can see, I've started weaving in ends, but there's a lot of ends to weave in this pattern. And the third hole are these socks, and these are from my husband. And the yarn I'm using for this is knit crate yarn, and the colorway is Mallard. And I've actually started the second sock, and I realized when I finished I did a mistake on the first sock. That's what happens when you start something and then you put it away, and when you pick it up again, because I started this sock, this is just me, it's not actually a pattern. I started this sock with a broken rib, and then I put it away, and when I picked it up again I continued with normal rib. So somewhere down the foot it's just normal rib. You can see a broken rib until you get about there, and then we start with normal rib. But you can't tell the difference. So, but I'm doing the same for the second sock. I'm doing broken rib for the leg, and then I'm going to switch to normal rib for the foot. And that's that. And then I have, so those 3 pairs of socks, of course, are whips. I haven't cast on the second sock for the Rainbow Connection or the Sirius socks yet, but the Sirius socks have to be finished by the end of April, so I guess that's the second sock I'm casting on. And because I'm me, I of course had to cast on another sweater. And this is in my tote bag from Twig and Horn. What happened was I was going through my deep stash. I was reorganizing my... I have a set of shelves in the bedroom as well, where I have my private stash. And there I was going through the shelves and figuring out what to de-stash and what to frog and stuff like that. And then I came across some yarn I actually forgot I had. It's a yarn from Drops. Sometimes they do something they call Drops Loves You, and those are limited editions. And I bought a sweater quantity of this because I really loved the color. And this actually is a As you can tell, it's hand-dyed and it's 50-50 alpaca and wool. And it's a thick and thin yarn. And I really love this red, so that's why I bought the sweater quantity. And I've forgotten I had it. I know. That's what happened when you have a big stash. And I figured I had 6 skeins, so I had 900 meters. And I was looking through my library and trying to find a sport weight sweater. And then I realized I had knitted a sport weight sweater that I really loved knitting. And that was the Rift by Jacqueline Cieslak. And I started this last night, so I haven't gotten really far on it. I just started the body. And this is a sweater I know I'm going to use a lot, because it won't be as warm as the other Rift I knit. Because the other Rift I knit was a sample sweater with my Poledale Sport in the colorway Brickyard. I can put up a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. And because I want to make sure that I want a longer body on this than I have on the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the body, and then I'm going to divide the yarn I have left for the sleeves, and then the sleeves will be as long as they are. I don't care if they're shorter sleeves. And I bought 2 more skeins of this yarn that as you can see, I have kicked it up. And this color, I can't use it with the red. I don't think they go together, so I'm not sure what I'm using this yarn for. But it's the same yarn, but a different color. So that's my Rift that I cast on last night. And I've actually been knitting some more on my Eastcoast girl, so I can show it to you again. It's in my Fringe Supply town bag, and as you can tell, I have several cats. And this bag has been sitting on the couch, so that's why it's so full of cat hairs. My Eastcoast girl is coming along. I've finished the body, so and I'm this far on the first sleeve. I finished the decreases, so now I'm just going to keep on knitting until I'm satisfied with the length, and then I'll knit the second sleeve. The yarn for this is Beehive Yarns in her Audrey sock base, and the colorway is Rose Salve. So that's that. And those are the whips I'm working on. I'm trying not to cast on something new. I have been going through my library, and I've been going through my stash, and I have lots of dream knitting. But I ordered myself some knitting needles yesterday. Because when I went to Brighton and went to Yarn and Knitting, or Yak in Brighton, I picked up some 9-inch Chiagu red twist. And I really love those needles, especially the cable. And Chiagu needles are kind of pricey, so I was debating whether I should spend quite a lot of money on a set of interchangeables in Chiagu. And then I realized I found a Norwegian online shop that sells those needles. And the Norwegian krone is really weak at the moment because of the outbreak. And if I buy something that pricey online from abroad, I have to pay a 25% VAT on it when I pick it up at the post office. So I ordered it from a Norwegian online shop. I have to wait about 4 weeks for them because she didn't have any in stock, so she had to order some. And that's kind of okay, because I decided I dyed up some yarn for the Daydreamer by Andrea Mowry, and I dyed up the yarn yesterday for that. And I've decided that I can't start the Daydreamer until I get my chagu needles, because I want to knit that on those needles. So I've set that as a limit to myself. You're not allowed to start the Daydreamer until you get those knitting needles. So let's see if I can actually manage to do that. And I have no acquisitions this week. I only have I have sort of some show and tell, because I've dyed up some more of one of the colors isn't dry yet, but I've dyed up 2 more sets of the Neon Lights mini sets, because those were really popular. So I've dyed up 3 more of the mixtape sock sets, and both those are going into the shop as soon as the last mini skeins are dry. I want to just keep topping up with those colors, so those will be put in the shop sometime this weekend, and I won't wait until my next update putting those in the shop. I've started dyeing a bit for my next update, but no new colors. I think I'm dyeing up some Rock Garden and Guacamole on soft merino fine, and I also dyed up some Vintage Rose, because that's kind of a spring color and I've run out, so I decided to dye up some more of that. And when it comes to life stuff, no big changes. We're staying home, staying safe, washing our hands, and so on. Hubby is still teaching from home, and I've always been working from home, or at least since I started this business. So for me, it's not much of a change. The only change is that hubby is home when I'm working. So I have somebody to help me carry stuff, and that's kind of okay. But I can't hire him as an assistant, I think, because that would be too expensive. And today I'm actually drinking water. I finished my first cup of coffee for this morning. And this is in my Starbucks Canada mug that my good friend Sue in Canada gifted me. And that was really nice. I've always wanted a Starbucks mug, and now I have one. You can see that there's a cat behind me sleeping, and it's actually not Harry this time, it's Roar. And if you think that sounds strange that I say Roar, Roar is a Norwegian man's name, and it's spelled the same way as roar in English. So that was a nice name for a cat, so that's why he's called Roar. The episodes are getting shorter and shorter because of the outbreak, I guess. Not much is happening, but then again, this is a knitting podcast. We went for a little walk yesterday, and you already seen that footage because it's at the start of this podcast. And I'll just keep on knitting and dyeing. So hopefully I have something more to show you next Friday. And if you like my podcast and you want to support me getting some extra equipment like proper lighting, you can always go to Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. And that link is also down below. And keep knitting and staying safe, and I'll see you next Friday. Goodbye.